morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. We thank you for joining us today. We know that there are 1,001 things that you could possibly be doing on a Saturday, especially a summer Saturday. But we thank you that you have taken the time out to join us. Again, our topic for today is financial management and accountability. And I'm just going to go quickly and run through what our agenda is for today. So I'm going to start by introducing PRI and telling you a little bit about who we are. So PRI is a faith-based, non-denominational organization, and we're committed to helping parents fulfill their God-given role of raising well-rounded children. Our vision is to enable thriving families with excellent parent-child communication in a conducive environment where a child's potentials are maximized. We recognize the fact that communication is very crucial in any relationship. And of course, it's nothing different in our various homes. If we can settle the issue of open and sincere communication, everything mostly would go, smoothly from there, because each party recognizes the other party, is willing to open up, is willing to engage, and we can almost always iron out whatever differences we have. Like a child told me last Sunday, he said, every time I try to engage my mother, I'll simply just ask her something. It turns out to become a lecture, and I'm tired of being lectured. So we focus on enabling excellent parent-child communication. And then, of course, our mission is to encourage, support, and provide resources for parents. Ultimately, parents own this job, but our own mission is to come alongside you and support you, so that you can raise children who are spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally sound. So whichever way we can provide support or encourage you, we're here for you. Please let us know. Our goals: we help parents understand their roles and responsibilities. We help parents identify the challenges that children face growing up in this century. We encourage parents to be actively involved in the education of their children. Of course, you would say, really, should that really be a goal? But you'll be surprised how many parents are not engaged or involved. They think the teachers should do everything. We also educate, train, and assist parents to create a conducive and supportive atmosphere for children to deal with and overcome challenges. We work with parents to identify opportunities for children to be mentored by qualified and capable adults. Especially we focus on our college students. We're working with individual students for mentoring opportunities and all that. So that's our goals as an organization. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. I don't know if it's, well, like they said, I should stop saying that all the time. I don't know if it's important for me to introduce myself, but well, I'm a graduate of Obafemi Awolowo University, Great Ife, the Federal University of Technology and World University. I was born and bred in Nigeria and relocated with my family to the United States. I'm a certified data privacy solutions engineer, a certified information systems auditor, and an Oracle certified professional. I have a passion for working with families, youth, and young adults, and that's why we do what we do now. Because we believe that, especially at a time like this, family values are continuously being eroded, and so we need to make this a focus. We need to make this a priority. I've written several articles on parenting and family issues. I speak at conferences and all that. I love to read, I love to sing, I love to try new recipes. I have more recipes than I have money for. And I love to volunteer and travel. So that's about me. I'm going to introduce you to our speaker for today. That's really the important person that needs to be introduced. So her name is Afra Bannerman Bruce. Afra has a degree in finance and economics from Georgia State University and an MSBA from NYU Stern. She has over 15 years of progressive experience in accounting, finance, and process improvement with a core competency in corporate finance. Her consistent ability to improve and drive value along all fronts has widened her roles and services along diverse industries. Her key industries include consumer services, healthcare, manufacturing and consulting, and professional services. Her experience in finance and business analytics allows her to deliver leadership and decision-based effective strategies to transform day-to-day business processes. She works with a similar analytical thought frame Our delight is to spend time with the youth to help them bring out the best opportunities that will map out a brighter and more productive future for all. Afra likes to say that, after all, our future lies in the hands of the upcoming generation. And if we don't lend a listening ear now and a hand to ensure that they cultivate the best habits, we will pay dearly for our lack of interest. So please give a virtual round of applause to Afra, Miss Afra Banama Bruce. You are welcome.
Hello, and thank you very much. And thank you all for joining. Great to see everybody. I could see some faces I haven't seen in a while. Great to see you guys. Big surprise, but good to see you all. I don't know if we really need this session, just because looking at the polls that we answered, I think the last three questions were answered, fairly well about how people would spend money, what they'll do with their credit card, if they have money for their birthdays, how they're going to go out there and spend it. So it looks like most people are being cautious of how to spend. And then a few people have their financial hats on also, whereas where we're asking, is debt good or bad? I think we just had 17% who would say, no, never go for it. Yes, there's that option of, no, I do have everything. But then at times we're faced with certain parts of our life where you're trying to build up, you're trying to build up credit, or you're just in different stages. So it depends where you are, and then you would have to make up your mind. Let's start with a quick presentation, and then we could always answer a couple bit more questions. We're talking on financial management and accountability today. Probably should have started a bit with asking exactly what we know, what our feel is. But like I said, from the questions we answered, it looks like we all have a good handle on our money. We have our hands right on the pulse, and so we'll be able to know how to make the money and also save, because it's imperative you're not just making it and squandering it, or just getting bits and pieces from somewhere, but you need to be able to have the actual viewpoint of what the worth is, how you make it, and then what you need to do to grow it going forward. The three main things on our agenda today will be common systems used. I was trying to kind of straighten up my top line, but then I realized I'm on the live screen, so I couldn't pull it up. That's why I keep going to the next one. So I'll just leave it as is. But we're looking at the common systems that we mainly use, and then accountability. How are we going to hold ourselves accountable, and then being an effective spender? When we look at systems, we would look at there are various systems, and after we've run through a few, as I talk, I want you to put your thinking hats on and try and think, what am I doing currently? How do I have a pulse on my money? A couple of the systems we can think of. We have what we call Mint. Mint is a budgeting and expense system. And then we have YNAB. YNAB is something that you need. It's also a personal finance software. It helps you to create budgets and manage your finances daily. And pretty much it provides tutorial as you go through. So if you've been struggling with bad financial habits, for instance, these are some of the things you want to tend to. We have envelopes. It's a traditional envelope budgeting system, because like it or not, we always have to do what we're comfortable with. So there are some things that are a little bit on the new side. They're probably so technology driven. And depending on your age or what your comfort level is, you might say, I want to do my old school stuff. Well, for those kind of things, there's envelopes. Envelopes is still software based, but it gets you into that mind frame of, let's say I have everything allotted, I have envelopes, and I break down what I'm going to do and put in those various amounts for that. Come tax time, you have TurboTax, you have Future Advisor, you have Personal Capital. There are several ones. So whenever you have a chance, you could check out the site I have listed below, thebalance.com, for best personal finance software. There are various ones. And like I said, there'll be a time where we can also kind of just talk and share some of the ones that we are doing ourselves. And then we'll go through accountability. How are we planning? How are we recording? What self-governance practices are we using? And then how are we monitoring these things? Because it's enough to plan and record, it's enough to budget. But if you're not governing yourself, if you don't have anybody to walk you through the path, or even walk you through the path might just be, I'm a lone person. I don't share my finances with anyone. But then am I doing my checks and balances? What did I allot for this spend? And did I do it? You need to be able to have those monitors in place, or else at the end of the year or at whatever time, if it's monthly you want to review, you would find you have some gaps. And then after all that, once you've also put that together, your accountability status, you also need to make sure that you are indeed being an effective spender. Do I have a financial plan? Why am I doing this? Am I just putting in all this just so it would rot somewhere? You know, even though you're being financially conscious, you need to live life. We hope so, right? I need a good meal every now and then. How do I balance all these things? Am I investing for the long term? Would I just work and then my money wouldn't double for me? What are some of the good practices that I need to be able to have? So you need to look at all these things. And these are things, they differ from person to person. So there are things we need to look at on our own account, right? How accurate is your hourglass? And we'll ask ourselves. And one of the things we're asking in the questionnaires was, do we need to get paid for money? You know, when you get if you want a pair of sneakers or something, do you have to work for it, all that stuff? Depending on your age, a 5-year-old has a different concept about money. A 5-year-old will probably come on with, oh, come on, money, can I have $1 for the vending machine? That's all they want. I just want that gummy bear. I want that teddy bear in there, whatever it is, I just need to yank at it. As you get to a teen, you're asking for more, but it's probably because you want certain labels. You want to be in a particular group. When it gets to the point where it's your money, and even for the teens, when it's not theirs, but you give it to them, here, go buy this. At times you'd realize they spend a bit more wisely. They would look at things differently because they want to be able to amass more. And then at different stages, when you're 40 or something, you're looking at, what do I need for retirement? At that point, you're really looking at, I don't want to spend excessively. Hopefully at 40 or something, you also just don't want to just work and say my pension or retirement. What other options do I have? How am I enabling myself? You know, what am I doing? What are my abilities that I would be able to turn into, that would be able to give me the outcomes I need for later on, right? And what we know now definitely affects our future. Of course, we know that we can't drive a car without a license, right? That's why we need to begin learning about how to spend the money we use wisely. And so when we are thinking of all that, how we need to learn, and then that would guide us through the steps ahead. But as we do that in whatever stages of our life, I guess even if we find ourselves in 12, whatever, what kind of life do I want? Am I measuring the passage of time accurately? Just like that hourglass, it depends on what you put in. It spits out almost the same, but a lot more, right? Because if you've put it into the right investment vehicles, if you're doing the right things, regardless of our orientation or our age, there's definitely going to be a better outcome. So we need to develop the habit of measuring the intervals allotted to us. What is it that we are willing to put into those jars to be able to invest for brighter futures? For instance, I'm always of the viewpoint, and this is probably a different topic to look at, but if you should be buying life insurance for one, always cheaper at an early age. So if I think I'm definitely going to need it, and I'm 12 or I'm 19 or I'm 25, I just, got out of B school, whatever it is, I want that immediate gratification. So I want that money right away. I'm healthy, so I'm not thinking about it. But the longer I hold off, how much would it cost me? Time value of money, what I'm going to buy. But as soon as you're old, they demand a little bit more from you. So we need to think through most of these things. And that's where it's that hourglass, chart out our future and see where we want to get to. If you have your phones, just take the phone and scan this QR code. If you don't have a phone, and you're on Zoom via your phone, get to your laptop, whatever you can do, or even if it's Zoom on your phone and you want to just get to a next screen, go to slido.com and you'll be able to help us answer a couple of these questions. In one word, how do you currently manage your finances? If you remember, one of the things we're just talking about was we went through envelopes, we went through Intuit, just a bunch of those things. So just give us an idea. It doesn't have to be any of the things we've mentioned, but what are you doing currently in your life that would help? And if I recall, I think all my Slido ones I've played with it, so we'll have a few things on there. But let's see. And as you type it, your responses should come up right away as you do it. So if you go to slido.com, the code you need would be PRI. If you just use your phone to activate the QR code listed here, you wouldn't need anything at all by being sensible. Great. Want to be sensible. Everyone being sensible. I expect to see a whole bunch of things. Only one person has answered by being sensible. So let's see what else. Let's see a few more things. I know we have a whole lot of people on here. Finance management, prioritize sparingly, survival by knowing my needs, finance manager by differentiating my needs and wants, by determining what I need and what I want. Okay, by being sensible, again, evaluation, saving sparingly. So I think we're running along the same trails, kind of, right? Okay, great. So I think we're all doing very well with that then. We are all around the same track, right? Everybody wants to, this is how we are managing our finances. If finance manager, the person might be saying, I actually have a finance manager I tend to, or they are their own finance managers, or there's a software they're using, have those using the software. But I think basically it's people just knowing, being frank with themselves. You know what you make, you know what should go out, and then you spend wisely. Great. I'll go on to the next slide. Hopefully this is it for answers coming in. Okay, so again, we're just talking about the common systems, and we touched on a few of those. To do this successfully, right, we always say there are the two things that are needed. It's easy access to the current financial data that you have. And the current financial data is every morning I buy Starbucks, I buy a newspaper, that's if we're still buying newspaper, or I'm buying this game, I buy lunchtime, I have a ham and cheese sandwich, whatever. I buy flavored water, it costs me all those things. That's what we talk about financial data. If you're still using checkbooks, which most people don't this day and age, but if you are, in the olden days, I think it was probably even better for most of those who use checkbooks, because you'd keep an accurate tally most of the time. Even if you forget to go and put down a transaction, you could always go to your receipts and see what you spent. But again, this day and age, we have banking softwares. If it's Bank of America, if it's Chase, whatever have we that we're using, you could always run through. Once you log in, it tells you exactly what it is you're spending. What is this telling us? It's telling us more often than not, it's better, at least in my opinion, I normally like to keep everything on a card. I just don't carry cash around. That's just me, because you cannot track that easily. But in the same token, there are those who probably would just prefer to have cash. Why? They know I take out $100 for the week and I'm going to use that. I don't go beyond that. Whereas at times when you're rather running through the cards or the systems, you might tend to overspend. You wouldn't really mind what you're doing. So whatever works best for you, however you know that you can manage well. Is it a software? Am I just knowing that I use X? This is Y, this is what I have coming in, and this is what this is what should go out. Let's do our best to keep it that way. So what we're doing with the financial systems, right? You have the ability to bring out all your financial data. You bring together all your different data sources and your multi-dimensional analytics. What is this? It means anything that I'm spending. What am I giving out to people in church? What am I giving to charity? What am I spending? Bring all those things together, and that's your tally that you can do. However well you work, 1 + 1 + 2, then you put that down. And then where you have somebody else in your corner, is it a spouse? Is it my friend? Am I rooming with someone? Are my parents helping to look after me? If my parents are giving me $20 or something for the week, hopefully they might think, oh, this is what I'm giving you. It should be enough. You need to keep them abreast. That's that kind of financial data with it, because it might get to the point, look, they probably give you $10 a week. You're spending $2 every day or something. But then somewhere along the line, COVID comes. Most of these restaurants around school or your cafeteria, they've increased their prices. So now your $2 sandwich becomes $4. They need to know, hey, mom, hey, dad, this is what I'm spending now. Or you tell your spouse, hey, it looks like this is where we are. I need more, or else you'd be running at a loss. So let's keep these things active. so that we're able to communicate effectively, we're able to plan and make decisions when we keep everybody in the loop. All right. Okay. Then we get to accountability. We said we're going to do three main things, right? We're doing the systems, accountability, and then how to spend effectively. So where we get to accountability, under accountability, we're looking at how are we planning? And then we need to record, and then we need to govern, and then we need to monitor. For planning, a budget is always essential. It doesn't matter who you are. Even if you're a 5-year-old and they give you money, hopefully they know, but trust me, if I give a 5-year-old a bunch of sweets and they know they're supposed, they might just pop all in their mouth or something. But the sensible one would know, oh, no, I don't want to eat all my sweets before lunchtime. I need to keep some. I'll eat a snack, I'll eat some lunch. And then when I'm going back home, I want to savor that moment. So I want to keep, a Jolly Rancher in my mouth. I want to pop it in. So they would apportion it well. That's what planning is. So let's learn to do that. Let's see again from the systems we're using, how well are we budgeting? What are we allowed to spend? And what should we spend on? Again, if we go back to the poll we took earlier on, we're all very proactive on it. We're all wise with our decisions. We just didn't want to get money and would go out and blow it. So in the same way, anything that comes in, how much more so what you are working for, or even what someone is giving to you. If I'm going to school and someone is giving me money every day, invariably it's mine. So the most I'm able to do with it and be able to save $1 or $2. What do you think? I have an upper hand. I have more. So you should always be the judge of how well do I need to plan and what do I need to take. That goes back into recording. As soon as you plan, you want to be able to be in that recording frame of thought, right? How accurate and complete are your records? And that recording, we go back to our system. How are we recording it? What is coming in? What is going out? And these transactions should match at the end. It should match with our budget, right? It doesn't necessarily mean, and when you plan your budget top level, there's times we'll probably look, and those are all for probably other days, but what percentage should go into, various things? Is it housing? Is it my fund? What have you? Whatever level in your life you are. If we have 12-year-olds on, we still need to be able to plan, right? Because there'll be a time my very good friend is having a birthday, and that $5 mom is going to give to put in the card, it won't cut it. It's not enough because they're very good friends. I want to do more. How are you going to do more? It's the money that you've been spending. And if you think you don't have much, what else do I do to get more? Do I pick up a few things around the home extra? Like we said, we don't have to be paid for our shows or something, but you'd find ways, and you could only determine how you're going to go about that life, or how you're going to be able to build once you have a plan. Once you have it, you have to have a vision. Once you have that board, that tells you where you're going and how to get there. So after you plan, you record, and then you're trying to protect yourself and how you spend your money. Keep your stakeholders at bay. That's self-governance. And we talked about that previously. I'm just saying, if mom and dad are giving me £10 for lunch for the week, each day they think I'm going to spend £10, whichever currency we're talking in, right? If they think I'm going to spend $2, but then prices have gone up in the cafeteria, my stakeholders who are giving me the money need to know what's going on. So they increase it. Or, hey, now we're going to give you lunch from, home or something. So let's keep people at bay so we can all work well. And then we need to monitor. Reporting through a wide array of softwares available. Again, it goes back to the common systems. Is it checkbooks? How are we going to report? Let's look at all that. So at the end of the day, we have a good system running and we have no surprises. And then we have effective use of our money. Effective use of our money. We started with, we are faith-based organization. So we always looked at what the Bible definitely says. It's good to save for the future, Proverbs. So let's look at those things. What is coming in, how well we want to use our money. We don't just want to squander everything. We always need to save for a rainy day. As I say, at the same time, how are we also enjoying ourselves in life? So your budget should be objective relative to your goals. What am I bringing in? And your goals might even be, yes, I want to buy X or Y. I want to get to this level. What am I bringing in, and how am I taking it out constantly, if I'm constantly overspending, if I'm not guarding my money well, right? Because I probably don't record, I don't plan, number one, and then I don't record. And so by the third month or the sixth month, I realized, oh gosh, I thought I had this. I really wanted this cool laptop and I can't get it again. What's going to happen? Right. So much. So let's get into that habit of each time checking ourselves, knowing what's included in our budget. And then if we need to make a revision, if we need to go back to the drawing board to say, this is not working, however, we have to stay on course. Let's try and do that. And that should be able to help us get, things moving in a better way, right? This next one, we're going to have youth more focused on the youth. And I think I've talked at breadth with, putting everybody in. But if we'll have a youth answer forum going on, I think there should be something that should pop up, correct? Or we could just actually, in lieu of it popping up, maybe on the chat forum, we could just quickly, and I actually didn't take a look at the participants to see who's who, of course, because we're not having a breakout session, we're not having why by our names. But if you identify yourself within this youth focus group, tell me how you would be an effective manager of your money. What are some of the steps you need to take? Because I think I would just want to learn what you're doing so I can practice it. So if you could share, it would be great. Let's just take about 90 seconds to quickly type it into the chat section, Timmy, and then you can unmute and tell me a few of the things you find out there. Any ideas popping up? Step one, what would I do if I'm a youth? Those are the best years and those are the best savers, correct? So yeah, I mean, we could just listen to anyone, because trust me, those people they are the best at doing that. They know exactly what they want and they would keep their money till they have what they want, and they would scoot on to the next goal. So yeah, anybody else could throw something in for us at this point.
Okay, I see an answer here. It says St. John is under 30. He gets paid for his chores.
Oh, St. John is getting paid already. I need to come out to your house, the Tetes. I can get paid. He's getting paid for his chores. Okay, tell him I'm gonna come visit soon. He'll take me out. What's he doing with his money? And who's keeping his money that he gets paid? Is he actually tracking it? So if you tell him I've paid you, is he actually looking to say, okay, mom, dad, where is it? Give it to me in hand, or he's not?
Okay, the person said daddy keeps it all. So daddy keeps John's money for him.
How is it? How can he know that daddy is keeping the exact amount? Is daddy being truthful at all times? You can keep your chat going, or you can do voice, whichever one works.
Well, it's Andrew's idea. So, and please, no titles here. I'm the student. I'm not good with money. Daddy's the one who's good with money. He's the one who pays him. So that's not my concept. Let him talk for himself.
So St. John needs to be accountable. On this day, I worked and you said you're giving me this money.
What do you do with your money?
Spend it.
Spend it.
You spend
What do you spend it on?
Stuff that I want.
You spend it on what stuff that you want?
Yeah.
Like what?
Like video games.
Video game.
But that exactly takes us back to monitoring, right? Being accountable, self-governance. So even with us, the older folks, at times we just have it in our minds that, oh, I have this. I'm moving this vehicle from one thing to the other, at the end of the month. Or your paycheck, you might just divide it into certain brackets and this is going here. Yes, it does go. It goes into the investment vehicles you said it's supposed to go to, but you always need to take that extra time and look through things again and say, where am I really? Is this really bringing in the yields that I expected? Do things like that. Because what happens if St. John just thinks, oh, daddy is keeping it, but each time he wants a video game, daddy says, yes, you want a video game, it's your money. So he's taking it. Then he gets to what, oh, where's my money? It's like, those are your video games you wanted. So let's take control, all of us, and try and, keep up with these things we're doing, all right? I think we're kind of just wrapping up on this with that. So again, like I mentioned, I think I have my other slides that I would have a few things on. But if you could just help me, don't mind what scores you see on there. On a scale of 1 to 5, how well do you understand the topic that we've treated so far? To be able to say, hey, is there something we need to go through again? Or, how comfortable are you with this? I would say about, it's a score of 4.2 for now. 10 people between 4 and 5, just few threes in there. And all we did talk about was what the systems we needed to use, being accountable and being effective. Very basic things. Systems, being accountable, being effective. When you got into being accountable, then we talked about planning. How well do we plan and budget? Then we needed to record, you needed self-governance, and then you needed to monitor those things, right? So a greater majority, 46%, are saying we are on a 5, well understood. Okay, thank you. Moving on. What's the most valuable thing you've learned? Is there anything that's going to change how you handle your finances, or what am I going to do when I leave this? Monitoring. Okay, great. Exactly. You don't want to be like St. John. St. John will get up and he'll be like, where's my money, Dad? I've learned that my budget should be objective relative to my goals. Budgeting. Exactly. And I think we know all these things more often than not, right? But we're not doing it, or it skips our mind. But these are the basic things. What are the things? Know what it needs to be spent on. Know what needs to be spent on and how much it would cost. Yes. And that's actual planning ahead of the game, knowing what I need. Keeping track of income and expenses. It should always match. Being realistic, key. Being realistic and being more effective and accountable. And so I think with all of this, what this tells us is baseline, it's the same thing, right? It's the importance of these little things. Are we getting a budgeting up? Is it being effective, being realistic? It's your money. Take ownership of it. Take control over it. You know how far you want to get to. And so you need to be able to start taking those steps now. Once you've determined that, once you've gotten that layout, then when you need help in different dimensions, and help can just mean going online, if it's, softwares, or you hear people talking about different investment options. Is it, is it stocks? What markets do we have? Is it Bitcoin? Is it all those things? But you need to be able to have a good grasp, and then you're able to move on thereafter. All right. Awesome. You have to have a plan and be accountable to the plan. Thank you so much, all. Thank you.
Okay, so I have 2 questions. One, children sometimes feel like, okay, my mommy or my daddy keeps all my money. But when I ask for it, they tell me that, oh, come and tell me how much money you've paid for the house you're living in, or how much, and is that something we should be doing? Number 2, at what point should parents be opening accounts for their children, like savings accounts for their children, so that there's, at least for me, I think that's some kind of monitoring, because if it's in an account and then you deduct something from there, you can show them, like if you have a child, like me, who will question you, because that's the kind of person I am. You want to be able to show them that, okay, you are practicing what you have preached. So at what age would you recommend for us to open a savings account for a child, or even an investment account?
As early as possible, I would say, and it's dual mode, right? There are times where we want to be able to associate with the physical and the touch, right? So depending on what age, here, this is your $5, but I'm keeping it for you. But they know exactly where it is. So I want something, you give it to them. There are times also when you notice what their wants are in relative. You might just do those things for them, because it might be, I am very generous. It's my brother's birthday. I want to spend some money on them. Right? I want to spend, and I guess Tenny would fill the questions later. I'm looking at some of the pop-ups here. But then at times it might just be, oh, it's my brother. So you realize this is a child who is very caring and they want to give their all. So at those times, yes, it's a brother's birthday, you would buy it, but you would step in for them. So there's the dual fold of, I would give you a bit, you have a little wallet, maybe I'm keeping it in a drawer for you, but you know exactly where it is, where your coins are or whatever it is. But in this digital age, I think it's imperative that the earlier we open accounts, depending on the age and the different countries or states we are in, there's what might be, you might be able to be under an adult, a parent, to be able to open that account. That also works because everybody is getting to the, for instance, you're even walking on the street and somebody is begging for money. They have an app. If you tell them I don't have cash, they're like, don't worry, Cash App. They would show you that app right on.
That app to beg for money.
Yeah, they are using that. They will give you their whatever write-up, or you just scan their code. So let's get them within that technology range too, so they would see what's going on. Regarding investing, I think great, even the second you have a child, let's open accounts for them and you leave it up. What investment vehicles would I put in? Because the best thing is when you even forget what's going, the longer you leave it in, you're not worried about the market fluctuations. Let it go. By 18 or something would happen. They would get, a substantial amount. But it's good to keep them in the know and work with them every time. What's the best way to teach children the value of money? How do you deal with entitlement mentality? I think the best way to teach them, again, is probably what we're just discussing, what she asked. It's letting them know exactly this is what you have and you have control over it. So if it's the account, they can see it. The entitlement mentality, believe me or not, it doesn't matter what age they are, even at 22. When you decide at some stage that I'm going to give you the money, I know I want an iPhone 12. Give them $1,000 and see if they'll go and buy it. No, they would find a whole lot. But if it's your money, remote, they would take that. So at times you need that empowering, unction to them. Here, do this. You're going to the mall. Here, take the, you all have $50 each. Go and spend. And I bet you would find out they are even better shoppers than you. Because there are certain shops you would not go into. You're looking at certain quality or value, but they're looking at how much would I have. So they use that money very wisely. What is I think we had something from a question. What happens after you save your money? I know you already mentioned it already. Okay. What happens after you save your money? And I think we save our monies as individuals, if we're not talking of, that's where that plan and the goal comes in when we start, right? Because am I just saving money for saving purpose? No. So once you have that plan or goal, you know exactly, is it something I want, or do I want to put it in a particular vehicle to bring more? There are some people who just honestly, and it depends where you are. There are some places real estate would always be hot. I'll put money into something. I know it's going to be 10 times above. So you need to choose where we are. For most of us who are probably sitting in the US or something, we would normally go with the markets, our stock markets and stuff. There are times where it would truly go down, but you don't have to fret. In this day and age, you have what? Your Bitcoins, your Dogecoins, everything that says it's coming up. Is it true? How many people are believing that? You just need Elon Musk to go on to one Saturday live and Dogecoin dives, but could you stomach it? But there are so many other options that, we can definitely look at that in the smallest of ways. At times, it's just even saving to be able to pay off certain debts. We have student loans. We have a mortgage. Do I just want to be able to be comfortable? Those kind of things.
It's encouraging children to work when they're able to, even when you can continue to meet their needs, an effective way of teaching them the value of money. Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm glad you asked this question. I've always believed, and I teach my youth class, and I tell them, there's no reason why you can't work. My kids always worked while they were in college, and I know I have a lot of high school students that work, and it teaches them, like Afra said, when it's their money, they keep it. They guard it jealously. Like I tell my children, I jokingly tell them it's easy to spend somebody else's money, but when you work for the money, you are more mindful about how you spend it and what you spend it on. So I think it's good value, and it's a good way of teaching them the value of money. I have a neighbor here. He has a Chevy Suburban. He has a Jeep. He has a Ford 150. Him and his high school student, his son is a high school senior, I think. They do lawns in the neighborhood. Like I think they manage 10 or 15 houses in the neighborhood. They do my lawn every other weekend. In fact, today I had to tell them, please don't do it while I'm on this conference, And I see that our Caucasian friends do that a lot. But some of us Africans feel like it is beneath us, or maybe when our children walk, it's a sign of that we can't take care of them. No, you're actually helping them to build value. You're giving them a sense of worth. You're helping them over time. They would understand that, oh, I have to do this much effort to earn just $10. So I'm going to be careful about spending that $10. But if all you do is just throw money at them, there's going to come a point in their life when you won't throw money at them. But because they've been used to living large, God forbid that they now want to start doing, cut corners to maintain that level of lifestyle that you have given them for free. And they had no clue how you made the money. So I think it's a good way to let them work. I tell the young girls, I tell them, if you can braid, braid. If you can sew, sew. I mean, I see young people that go around and say, and I live in a predominantly white neighborhood, and they go around and ask, if you want to do chores. Africans would think that is beneath us for our children to do chores in our neighborhood or to even go to Burger King and work. Why not? As long as you are going to help them to be able to balance so that they can save time, they don't spend all of their time making the money and not focus on their education. But please let us encourage a sense of work and a sense of value for money for our children. Hard work doesn't kill anybody. It's idleness that kills people. So let us at an early age begin to imbibe it and help our children imbibe it. If they pick up 4 hours a week, or 6 hours a week, or 8 hours a week, that's not too much. In the process, it's not even the amount of money they earn from it, but rather the lessons they learn. They learn to be on time at work. They learn teamwork. They learn, of course, the value of money itself. And then they learn to plan their time. If they know that, okay, I have to finish my homework and I have to go to work. There's this girl in my church. Every Sunday you can see her. She sings in the choir, and right after that, she gets into the bathroom and changes into her jeans and top. And you can see the t-shirt for the company that she works for. Every single Sunday, she does it. And from my understanding, her parents are I would say her parents are well off than most people that I know that don't work. But I have seen that girl become very responsible, very mature. I'm sure it's tied to the fact that she works. So that's my answer to that question. And then I see another question that says, why is it that most parents don't want their children to work and they keep controlling us? That's from a youth, you can guess. The reason why some parents will not let a child work, in some cases that I've heard, is that one, they don't trust that child. So they don't believe that child will go to work and come back home, or they believe that child would, make friends out, over there, that they are not. And again, like she said, it's control. If you've taught your child well, there comes a point where you have to start to let them live their own lives, begin to give them little privileges, begin to give them some trust. Because if you say you're keeping them home and you don't want to work for them to work, when they go to college, are you going to go to college with them? Are you going to live in the dorms with them, or what? So parents, I think instead of saying don't work, you need to sit down and have a conversation with that child. What do you want to do? Where do you want to work? And then you talk about, okay, if you finish work at 9 p.m., the distance from the house to the wherever you're working is 30 minutes. 1 hour is a good time to expect that you should be back home if that's your problem. And I see somebody else says that they are concerned it will affect schoolwork. Yes, you can. If you say it will affect schoolwork, most of the time that they are home, what are they doing? They are watching movies. They're on Netflix. They are playing games. So if it's about being concerned about schoolwork, then it means that you and the child need to sit down and plan. Again, we've talked about planning for our money here. We can plan for our time. How many hours do they actually study when they are home, when they are not working? Maybe going to work would actually help them to plan their time better. Let me read out the next question. It says, is it a plausible idea as an African man to give a monthly allowance to our wives as we do in Africa? Also, do we split bills down the middle as Americans do? Over to you, Afra, or any other person that wants to answer. Again, let me read the question. Is it a plausible idea as an African man to give a monthly allowance to our wives as we do in Africa? Also, do we split bills down the middle as Americans do?
Somebody has answered. Depending to that first, and then
depending on the couple's agreement for bills. Good. Okay, what about allowance? She addressed the bills. What about allowance? And okay, she said an allowance. Okay, so depending on the couples. Okay, so I'm going to give two scenarios. So one, let's say in the case where Afra said the couple decided they are both engineers and they decided they are living on one income. So if they are living on one income, it means that one person's income is being saved, right? So in that situation, you have to agree on, okay, if one person's, if it's only one income that's going to be spent, then that means I'm assuming that they're going to have a joint account, right? And they pull up all their expenses for the month, like, okay, this is how much goes to utilities, this is how much goes to the mortgage or the rent, this is how much goes to groceries, this is how much goes to maybe children's needs if they have children. And then, so are we going to just spend out of that account? Or am I going to say, okay, it's $10,000 that we earn, that one income is per month. And after everything is done, 5,000 or 6,000 is what we spend and 4,000 is left. So are you talking about allowance, pending allowance from that remaining 4,000? Or you are talking about allowance to take care of the house? Okay, my wife is the one that's responsible. I'm the one that is responsible. And this is my monthly allowance for taking care of the house. But I think a better way is to make sure everything is factored in. And then whatever is left, you know, both of you are individuals, you probably don't work in the same place. So somebody will still need money for their car, money for things at work and things like that. So we can say, okay, maybe 1,000 per person. I know not a lot of people, not many people make that much, but I'm just, you know, using that as an example. So again, like the person Charmaine said on the chat, it depends on the couple. But I think a good place to start is to agree on what money would go to first. Again, somebody said it also depends on how much each spouse earns. Yes. So you have to have an agreement. And there's nothing, I don't believe in splitting down the bills. First of all, number one, the Bible does not say that. The Bible says a woman is a helper. That's my personal belief. The Bible says a woman is the helpmate. That means you, the man, you are responsible for the family. I'm not saying that women should not do anything or contribute to anything to the home, but to think that you are going to be splitting bills with your wife, for me, I think it's inappropriate. I think a better way is to agree on what our expenses are, pool resources together. And I'm not going to say have a joint account. That doesn't work well everywhere. But at least have an understanding of how much money you both earn, have an understanding of how much money you want to contribute. Because whether you like it or not, whether it's one person who earns an income or both people earn an income, whether the wife earns more, the husband earns more, bills have to be paid. We have to pay for either a mortgage or a rent. So that's one. Now, that's part of the planning and budgeting that Afra covered. So we identify the items that are, you know, you cannot, there's no compromise. You live in a place, you have to pay. You have to pay for the utilities. You have to pay for your car maintenance, gas, and all of that. So really, I don't think there's any argument about that. All of that should come from somewhere, either a pool of your combined income, or you have an agreement on, okay, maybe 60% comes from me and 40% comes from my wife, or whatever. Or if you're a husband and God has really blessed you so much and you can take care of everything, why not? You know, but I don't believe in the fact that bills should be split equally. I don't believe in that. I don't think it's appropriate even to say that you're going to be splitting bills equally with your wife. Then why are you the husband? Why are you the man?
And not even why are you the husband, why are you the man? And I think I agree with you, because most people are saying it depends, but you are one. There shouldn't be any difference of you splitting anything, irrespective of who is making money at what particular point in time. So yes, we're talking finances and how to say, but hopefully we are all walking along the same thread. So we have the same common goals. We have the same focus and values, right? Mm-hmm. So you're not so scared about the next person going to be a waster or spend something that's above or below the limit. That's where that transparency comes into place. You're planning together with the person. Remember, we talked about stakeholders, making sure that you know what is happening. When I even talked about stakeholders, I was even more I was basing it more on the youth, right? And all that, if they would let the adults know what they're spending. But then when you have a partner, you need to be able to ascertain what the task ahead should be. And then you would spend wisely, whatever works with people's bank accounts and all that stuff. But it should be a unit, correct? Exactly. And I know, yeah, there have been various answers of people saying it depends, good question, everyone's needs will be represented, and all that. But yeah,
and we want to recognize the fact that not every situation is ideal. Not every family is in a good place where there's mutual agreement. There are some situations where, you know, there's friction, maybe there's from past experience, there's mistrust or things like that. So in that situation, that even calls for you sitting down and say, okay, I think that it's even the area where you have to say, okay, we'll take care of all of the major things, and then we can now decide on, okay, whatever is left. Because one, you have to pay for, again, your mortgage or your rent. You have to pay the utilities. You have to pay for food. If your children, you know, maybe they eat lunch in school, you have to cover that. So it comes back to really being communicating with one another. Like somebody said on the chat, everybody's needs has to be represented, right? We are going to take care of the children. And if we don't have children yet, we're going to take care of one another, you know. At least I have needs, the husband has needs as well. So, but where people are unwilling to communicate, I think that's when things begin to break down and somebody wants to talk about splitting it down, you know, 50-50. I don't see why we want to split it down 50-50. Like somebody said on the chat, we're husband and wife, we're not housemates. It's
Exactly.
housemates that split things down 50-50. If you're husband and wife, it should be like a mutually agreed, you know, decision. We both come down, we sit down, we talk about it, and we talk about the approach, you know, not that, you know, we just want to say either somebody says, oh, it's all the man's responsibility, or somebody says, oh, no, we have to split it 50-50. Those are two extremes.
We as the women carry the family because you are a partnership. So you should always, you know, hold each other up. That goes back to the story I was saying when I got cut off or got frozen. But this man I was saying that I would pay his stuff to, and I was trying to tally. At some point, I had to go back to the guy and say, oh, I see you have about 5 or 6 paychecks outstanding, something almost with, if it was, you know, bi-weekly or something, so every 2 weeks. And this is someone who was being paid like $15,000 for each paycheck after his taxes. Again, that was an effective spender. He had probably retired, he'd come back, so he didn't need any of these. The guy just looked at me, picked up something from his jacket pocket. He's like, oh, so you've been giving me real money every time. It's like, I thought it was going to my bank account. So I just put it down. My wife washes it. So I don't know, you know, like, so you've probably been 60,000 in your bank account weekly and you haven't, like, my wife thought the bank account was struggling a bit, but we didn't check. So like his wife is sitting home. She just probably, okay, what did you bring in? And he's not even taking care. But, you know, that's what it should be, I guess. So
in an ideal situation.
Yeah, you know, of saving well and then being respectable partners of share, you know. Yes, he didn't. Somebody might have jumped. Where did my wife take the money? He just thought, oh, you mean it's life check? So as he reached over, so this is a life check. Yeah, my wife had mentioned it, but yeah, they probably spend wisely. So he was good.
Okay, so there's another question here. I think we missed the question earlier on. The person said we want to talk on differences between investing in liabilities and assets.
And I think when we were talking about this, we kind of had a little thought about it, that we didn't want to center on investments. That's a whole other vehicle. And we were mindful of what to bring up. So if you notice, for most of my that I'd given, how do we say, you know, where after we say, what do we do with the money, or even talking about it, I've left it very general. The different aspects you want to get into it.
And let me add that there's going to be a part 2 to this. So we're just laying the foundation here. So I think the part 2 is where we are really going to delve into the liabilities and assets, investing strategies and investing tools, right?
Investing tools and what you get. And then, of course, with all these things, when investments comes at bay, you should know that it's what you're comfortable with. For most of what you will be presented, you will just have all the information, because you just don't ever want to say, this person said I should get into this. There are these times that, you know, people are doing, but always for Bitcoin is what's going on these days, or Ethereum. I know. Actually, when was it? Someone called me maybe about 6-8 weeks ago, Dogecoin, like, it wasn't even 5 cents, or was it 0.005? And then I just kind of let it go. And then the next thing, Elon Musk and stuff is sitting, and people are like, someone who could have put, was it $100 to 1,000? They were up in about $121,000. You're like, oh goodness! But what else happened after that? You know, so we just need to be mindful. Most of these will be comfortable with our own, so you know, we'll have a better understanding. So when we even have this, and I think we'll look for the right people, but let's put our thinking hats on when we are even listening to people with these backgrounds or these ideas that they would float, so that we would do the things that are best suited for us based on where we currently are in life.
And I want to add that the reason why we are taking time with this is because it's money that you have that you would invest, right? If you don't plan properly and you don't budget and you don't monitor money, you're not going to have anything left to invest. That's the truth. So this is where you need to get it right. What am I earning? What am I spending on? How am I managing my money? How am I monitoring my money? Am I accountable to myself or to anybody else? Am I keeping tab on, where money is coming and where money is going? I remember one of my former bosses told me that until this was back in Nigeria, until his landlord told him, or like kind of triple, he has a hospital. And I think the man figured out he was renting the property that he was running the hospital out of, and the landlord decided to triple, not double, triple the rent. That was when his mind and his eyes opened. And then he told himself that, okay, I'm going to pay this first year, but I'm not going to pay it the next year, because of course he couldn't evacuate his hospital just like that. If it was just a residence, he could do that. So he, over the course of 1 year, when he made up his mind he wasn't to pay the next year, he told me, he said, that money that I now committed to, he had some landed properties and he decided he was going to start developing immediately. He told me he didn't. So I asked him, where did you now get the money? He said, some money that I've been throwing away that I didn't realize. So he was able, at that time, was about 300,000 naira. This was like 18 years ago. He said, I never knew I had 300,000 naira extra in my account, or that where it wasn't in his account, he was spending it anyhow. But when his landlord forced him, because the man was going to take 3 times the rent for the next year. So he said, okay, 1 year I'll pay you, but next year I won't pay you. Where did he find that 300,000 naira from? From money that he was busy flaunting all over the place. So the same thing applies to us. If we don't make conscious effort, you won't know what is coming in and what is going out. And you won't know that there's money that you could be putting towards investment. So the basic thing, this is why we are spending time on this. We're going to come in the next one. I think this will be in August. We're going to look at investment strategies, tools. What you invest in depends on what your strategies are, what your end goals are, But where do you find the money to invest if you are not making proper assessments? If you are not correctly monitoring your money now, if you're not planning, you're not budgeting, you don't have, what is your monthly budget? How do you know that, okay, maybe our monthly budget as a family for groceries is $500. If like now that COVID has made everything double, you know that you have to up that. Where do we pull that extra money from? Maybe we need to say that, okay, we are not going to go out and eat for so many days a week. Or maybe you eat somebody said they eat every day a week. They eat out every day a week. That is money that can go somewhere. If you want to cut it to 3 days a week, the remaining days, eat at home, cook, things like that. So again, we're taking this time to talk about proper planning, budgeting, managing stuff, so that at the end of the day, even if it is $100 that is left, after all our needs are met, after everybody's needs is catered to, then that's what can go into the investment. And then you can begin to look at, okay, what kind of investment would take $100 to start? There are a lot of investment tools that would take even as little as $25 to start. But the thing is, you have to find that money. You have to make sure from what you're earning now, what you think is not enough now, you have to manage it so that you at least have something left to put elsewhere. You're not going to be owing on your credit cards maybe thousands of dollars, and you are not going to be putting $100 away. The return on that $100 will not pay your credit card. You are paying a higher interest rate on the credit card, right? So you don't want to go and be earning maybe 5% on a savings account. Who pays 5% on savings account? Nowhere. 0.003. When you are paying 23% or 18% on credit cards. So you have to look at those things. You have to, maybe in the next session, I think this will be in August again, we will look at what makes sense. Paying off your bills and saving. What is the, at what point do you do that? At what point do you determine that, okay, now we're in a comfortable place? How do you determine, like people say, pay yourself first? How do you determine how and when to pay yourself first? I'm getting into all of those things, but I just want you to know that we're aware of that, but we don't want to cover everything in one session and not do a good job of it. And we feel like this is a place where many of us really can put things in order. If we can put a handle on our expenses versus our income, then we can begin to talk about investing. Afra, I hope I made sense.
Accurately.
I kind of want to come back to the question that the youth asked. Why would you not let your child, or what can parents do if a child is willing to work, and how can we help them? We don't want a situation where our children feel like we just boxed them, they are living in a box, and it's all about our definition of that box. Parents, what can we do? What should we be doing so that we are not putting our children in a situation where everything about their lives is just determined by us and they don't have an input. So I'm throwing this question out there. Please, somebody help me.
I want to say something about this.
Okay, please go ahead.
So, my thoughts would be at first, if my child would tell me, Mommy, I want to work, because of the way that we Africans are, like you said, we are used to not letting our children do things like that. Our thought process is a little bit different from that independent way that other culture are. And so for me, I would be reluctant because I would think my child is not matured, strong, or like street smart enough to be out there working. But one thing is we have to learn that they have to start at one point. So even if they're not strong enough, they're not street smart, whatever, they still have to start at some point, and then they would grow from there. So it's actually also trying to I believe that it's dealing with our own insecurity. Just because we feel like, oh, my child is this, it doesn't really mean that it's them. Sometimes it's us. And we need to deal with our insecurity and our fears so that we can let them go.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Yeti. We need to deal with our own insecurities, And I remember my son used to tell me back then, and I think he still said it recently, maybe 2 years ago, Mommy, don't transfer your fears, or don't project. I think project is the word he used. He said, Mommy, don't project your fears on us. And this was not about walking. It was just about, what time do you go out? What time do you come in? Where are you going? Who are you going with? Things like that. It's our fears, it's our insecurities that we are projecting on these children sometimes, and we need to grow out of it. Parents, we need to grow out of it. We need to release them. I'm not saying just throw them out in the wild, but you have to start releasing them gradually, knowing they are going to go out in the bigger world. Anyway, they're going to go to college. You're not going to college with them. So, and I'm guilty of this sometimes too, but we have to consciously remind ourselves that it's good to take the necessary precautions, ask them where they're going, who they're going with. Okay, where do you want to walk? How far is it from the house? Have you thought about how you're going to be getting, if they don't have a car, especially, maybe you are worried about how they're going to get to work, and, but it's better to have that conversation with them than just tell them, no, you can't walk. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. That is what gets them the most. That is what puts them on edge. That is what makes them become defiant and rebellious. It will be better if you have sincere conversations with them. The conversations may not always end well. They may still not agree, but at least you've opened up the communication line. Ask the questions and let them think about it. Okay, if I'm taking this job, how far is it from home? I have a younger friend, her younger sibling from Nigeria came to live with her. And then she wanted to walk like 1 hour away from the house. And she asked her, have you thought about how you're going to be getting home if they give you a night shift? And it's one of these burger restaurants, She wanted to walk 1 hour away from the house and be taking evening shift. She said, no, I'm not going to be picking you up at 11 p.m. because I have to go to work the next day. So look for something closer to the house and restrict yourself to a shift that does not go past 9 p.m. And I think those were better options than just telling the girl, don't walk, right? Help her understand that you cannot go too far away from the house because you don't drive yourself, except if it's on a bus route. Number two, how do you plan to get home if you take a night shift? So I think for many of our youth, it would be better if we sit down and have conversations with them rather than just say no. And we dealt with these 2 sessions ago, our session in March or our session in April, where we talked about parent-child communication. It doesn't mean we would always agree with what they say or what we say, or that they would always agree, but at least we would leave the communication lines open. We can always come back and revisit something. Let it not always be no, no, no. That's my response to that. Okay, I think we have done well, and we are going to be wrapping up at this time. I don't see any more questions coming. So we're going to wrap up. I'm going to quickly share what we have coming up. So we want to thank you for spending your afternoon with us. It has been an interesting session. Our next meeting, we're taking a break in July because we know it's holiday, people are traveling and things like that. So we're taking a break in July. We'll come back in August by the grace of God. Our next date is August 21, 2021, and we're going to continue this session. It's going to be directed towards or focusing on investment strategies, investment tools, and how to make the right decision. They won't be telling you use this. but we'll just give you the plethora that we know that are reasonable, or that what's the word, that we think that people can vouch for, and just make those suggestions for you. So save the dates on your calendars. It's August 21, 2021, and please follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram. If you look for Parenting Resources and Initiatives, you'll find us. This program is recorded and will be on our YouTube channel. We also have the previous recordings from the previous sessions on our YouTube channel. It's PRI_HKL. That's our YouTube channel. Again, we want to thank you for coming. Please help us spread the word. Go on YouTube, look at some of these the clips that we have there, watch them, like them, spread the word, and we hope to see you in August. Thank you and have a nice evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.